Maybe everybody wants to believe they're like a good kid, but I just like stayed out of trouble. I was really afraid of everybody, so I was like afraid of like my dad. I was afraid of my mom for a long time. I wanted to have a career in video game design because I loved playing video games, and there was a lot of like those commercials that come on TV at like 2 p.m. and on a weekday that are like, you want to make video games, and it's like DeVry University or go to Collins College, and I felt like I had like eaten really really good food, and then somebody was trying to give me like top ramen, and I was just like, I don't think I can go back to just like sitting in these classes. Like this sucks. Majestic Casual posted it, so boom, like more notifications, and I was just like trying to stay on top of it, like, yo, thanks for listening, guys. Wow, thanks for sharing.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. I'm here with Omniboi and
Hi.
2ToneDisco, half of it.
Yeah.
So you were born in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I was born in Arizona. I was born in Mesa, Arizona.
Are your parents from there as well?
No. My mom is. My mom grew up in Arizona, but my dad's actually from Arkansas. Arkansas? Wow, I should know that. He's from the South. He's from like Arkansas, like Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's Arkansas. I'm positive it's Arkansas. All right. Yeah, my dad's from Arkansas, but he moved to Arizona like when he was pretty young. And so, I mean, they both lived in Arizona for a really long time, but they're like Southerners.
Mm-hmm. What did they do out there?
My dad was a military man for a long time, and then he was like a truck driver. And so he would like drive cross country, and then he started just driving like within Arizona. So he's like a truck driver and like a mechanic. And my mom has been like a bunch of things. She like sold life insurance for a while. She like had a bunch of like desk jobs. Right now she's like a nurse and a caregiver. So yeah.
Where do you think you got your creative side from?
I guess my mom. My mom's more of like the creative like dreamer type. My dad's more like mechanical, like not mechanical. I don't know, like a robot dad. He's like,
Robot dad.
He's like more like direct, doing things with his hands. He's not like into like making things up. He likes taking things apart, fixing them, stuff like that.
What kind of music did they play in the house when you were growing up?
Gospel music, I guess. My family was like really religious for a minute there. And so when I was growing up, it was like a lot of like gospel tunes.
Oh, you went to church a lot and stuff?
I went to church a lot, yeah. So it's like a lot of gospel music. My dad actually, like, cause he's from the South, like really likes country. And so like country was a big thing. I remember hearing country every now and then. But overall, there wasn't like actually a lot of music in the house. Like I think there was only a lot of gospel because like we were a religious family. But my parents didn't listen to a lot of music in the house. Yeah, my siblings did.
Did you play like music at church and stuff, or not really?
No, I didn't even like music for a really long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I didn't really like listening to it. I didn't even think about playing it. I really liked video games and like toys and stuff like that. Music didn't like happen for me until like after I was like way older. Like I don't even remember how old, but I wasn't like a kid. I know there's some people that are like 7 or 8, and they're just like, oh, I started playing clarinet when I was 10 years old. And there was no way I was like doing music at that age. I just didn't have the focus or the attention span.
How do you describe yourself back then growing up?
I was quiet. I was really quiet, and I was just like a good kid. I know maybe everybody wants to believe they're like a good kid, but I just like stayed out of trouble. I was really afraid of everybody. So I was like afraid of like my dad. I was afraid of my mom for a long time. I was afraid of my siblings. So I just kind of like chill, and I was just quiet, play with my toys, freaking watch Sesame Street and stuff. Like I wasn't like an exciting kid at all.
How about in high school?
In high school, I started hanging out or trying to hang out with like goth kids. Because I was sad all the time, and I was like, oh, these people are also sad.
Why were you sad?
I just like hated high school. I think a lot of people hated high school, but I didn't like get along with the kids because like the area I grew up in right before I started high school, my family, or my parents I should say, like got enough money to move us out of a certain area that we were living in, like which was like a bad area.
Yeah.
And so we moved from like me being around like nothing but like black people and people like in the same kind of upbringing as me. Like we moved to like kind of an all white neighborhood where the schools were nicer. And so I didn't like make a lot of friends in those schools because like there wasn't a lot of black people there. It was just different. So I was like really bummed and like alone most of the time. And there was kind of this like angsty music like Linkin Park, and
You found that yourself, or?
I found it like through other kids. Like kids would be
Okay.
listening and I was just like, oh man, that stuff's like really angry. And I mean like growing up like hip hop was angry, but it was a completely different type of angry. I feel like hip hop was angry because of like there's like a cultural anger in like hip hop and like just black music, I feel. And that was a little bit different than like listening to Linkin Park, which was more like my parents don't listen to me and like I'm depressed and like I want to drop out of school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I listened to a lot of that stuff and like a lot of metal. That was like when I got into like metal and like hardcore stuff. So like in high school I was just kind of like the typical depressed.
Did you dress that way also?
Yeah, I just wore nothing but black. Okay, so everything pre-high school, I was like actually wore colors because I just wore hand-me-downs. So whatever my big brothers and sisters didn't wear anymore, that's what I wore. And so it was like just random stuff. But when I got into high school, that's when I could like actually, because I got a job and so I could start paying for my own clothes. And I just wore nothing but black. I got like chains and like studs on everything. And
What
yeah,
did your parents think of the whole period? Because they're kind of religious.
yeah,
right?
they were like super religious, and so my mom didn't like it. My mom was actually like really adamantly against it because there's this band called Cradle of Filth that I got into, and like I guess if you're like a hyper religious middle-aged woman like my mom was, and you look at some of the imagery of Cradle of Filth, where it was like all these skulls and like goat heads,
yeah.
and like she was like very, very thrown off by it and didn't like it at all. And like she didn't take any crazy steps like banning me from listening to a thing. But it was more like one of those things where when she would hear me listening to it, she would never have anything good to say. It was always just like, I don't know why you're like poisoning your soul with that nonsense. Like you need to listen to something better, do something better with your time. But yeah, she didn't like it. My dad didn't care. My dad was super apathetic towards the whole face.
Were you good at school though? Do you have like favorite subjects?
I mean, I was good at like writing because there was a little bit of creativity in there. But like things like science, math, history, stuff like that, I just didn't care. And so I think I was good at it because there was a period after high school, I went to college for a year and I was just amazing. Like I was like straight A's and I was doing so well. And I think I realized that I was never bad at school, I just didn't care. And so when I was in high school, my grades were lackluster because I just like didn't want to be there. I was like really just dejected by the whole experience.
How did you start getting into the more like Japanese anime scene?
Oh, because I liked video games, and I feel like if you were somebody that played video games even now, but the time I was playing them, like in the 90s and like early 2000s, like all of like the cool games, as far as I was concerned, were like they came from Japan. And so even if you were unaware of it as you were playing like Mario or Sonic or I don't know, Final Fantasy, like all these different games, they're all coming from Japan. And then like all the cartoons we were watching, like Dragon Ball and Pokemon were coming on TV. Those were also from Japan. And just like it kind of happened organically. Like all of the media I was intaking was from the same country. And so once I started making music, I feel like that came out in my music a lot, like video game sounds here, or like little like anime inspired sounds here. But
What did you like so much about the Japanese scene? I feel like people I watched a bit of it, but then it never like clicked to me as how much it clicked to you.
Like anime itself or just Japanese stuff in general?
Japanese stuff. Like, cause you're like, even I'm from Hong Kong, so it's like kind of closer to me, but it like super clicked to you.
I think music. It was music. Like image wise too. Like there was imagery in a lot of Japanese games and shows. I think it was something that was different, but also consistent, if that makes sense. Like anime. Like if you look at stuff like Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor, Dragon Ball Z, and you're looking at all this stuff, Pokemon, you can see a familiar thread in them. Like they do kind of look similar. But they were at the time they were like really different than the things that like obviously like G.I. Joe, like there's these American cartoons, there's American imagery that's so consistent with itself that when like anime was starting to come in, it was just something different. It was like a counterculture almost. So like I feel like I liked it because it was just something that was different than the norm, what like I could be watching.
for college, was that something that you wanted to do, or did your parents kind of want you to get a degree?
My parents wanted me to go to college because I have a lot of siblings and none of them went to college.
Oh, how many?
I have 9.
Oh my gosh.
And so like and I was the second to the last. So since none of them went to college, it was kind of like, Omni, you gotta go. Like, Omni, we know you're smart. You know, we know you, like, maybe you didn't care in high school, but like now it's time to get serious. So I started looking at colleges, and I mean, I was in Arizona, and ASU was there, and so I went to college, and all my friends were doing it too. It was almost like a peer pressure thing. Like when you're in high school, everybody's just talking about college. So I went, not because I wanted to, but I felt like I had to. But that was definitely their choice. Like, I wanted nothing to do with college.
But your siblings weren't as pressured? Like, they just didn't want to?
They just didn't want to. They were super as pressured. They just didn't care.
Oh, wow.
But I think that there's this, like, when you're going to high school every day, even if you have a job too, you're going to high school every day, when you graduate, there is this kind of, like vacuum left after you leave high school, where you're just like, well, what am I supposed to do now? And so I feel like college is like the not to say that college is easy, but it's like, if you start going to college, then it's like, okay, cool, I'm still back on track. It's almost like being on like train tracks. Mm-hmm. And if you drop out of school, it's like the train tracks are gone and you're like lost for a second.
Mm-hmm. What did you study there?
Oh man, my major was marketing. I don't know why. It was just one of those things, like, you know, where you're in college and if you don't know what you want to do, there's like counselors that'll like kind of look at what you've like tested in, and your grades will be like, maybe this is a thing you might be interested in. Somebody told me that, and I was just like, yeah, whatever, okay. Like, I was that apathetic. And
you never wanted to have a career in like video game design or anything, or?
Okay, yes, because I wanted to have a career in video game design because I loved playing video games. And there was a lot of like those commercials that come on TV at like 2 p.m. On a weekday that are like, you want to make video games? And it's like DeVry University or go to Collins College and you'll learn how to make, and there's always some weird like kind of low level like graphic happening in the background. We're just like, oh cool, that looks dope. But I think me saying I wanted to make games, it was just because I liked games. It wasn't because I had any experience or even interest in like the process. Mm-hmm. It's like, I love pizza, but I don't want to be like a pizza man. Like, I don't want to make pizzas. And so I think that I thought I wanted to go to school for video games, but then I actually saw what you had to do, and I was like, no, that doesn't look interesting at all to me.
Did you actually like studying marketing though?
No, I hated it.
Oh.
I
hated it. You never thought of changing majors?
That's the thing. I did think of changing majors, because here's what's happened. I was going to drop out, and counselors and my parents were like, well, maybe you just have the wrong major. Well, get some other majors. What would you like to study? What would you rather transfer into? And that's when I started thinking of changing majors, but I couldn't, there wasn't anything I wanted that they were offering. Like, I'm looking down this list, and I'm like, I'm not passionate about any of these things. Mm-hmm. And so, at the time, I was getting really passionate about music, but the degrees that they even had in music weren't things that I cared about. They were more like business things, like music business, and like if I wanted to be a manager maybe, or if I wanted to like start a label, those would be cool, but not like stuff for me personally.
Yeah, but you did want to learn like the creating music part. They just didn't like have that program, I guess.
Yeah, and it was like, and also I should have said, like, at the time while I was going to college, I was learning music stuff in my free time. It was like my hobby.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, I'm already like teaching myself this much stuff. Like, do I really need to pay for courses to learn how to do this? Like, I just didn't feel like it was necessary.
Yeah.
If college was free or even like cheap,
yeah,
I would have kept going, absolutely, because why not? Mm-hmm. But I was also paying out of pocket for college. Like, I was paying for it myself. And I was just like, I was going broke, and I didn't want to go into like debt. And so
yeah, I
left.
Were you already going by Omniboi at this point, or was that your first like producer name?
My first producer name was Agnes.
There's stuff out there.
Yeah, it was like Agnes. I don't know what. I know exactly why I chose that, but anyways, my first producer name was Agnes, and I was making chiptune. And then I went by Omni 7, like Omni VII, like a Roman numeral 7, and then finally went by Omniboi. And I was like, that's the least complicated, it's super simple, easy to remember.
And then you already started putting out stuff on SoundCloud. That was during college, or did you already start in high school?
I started putting out stuff. Well, there was MySpace Music was the thing. I started putting out stuff on MySpace Music, and that was when I was going by Omni 7. Mm-hmm. And then only after like MySpace music, kind of died, and then SoundCloud came up, then I started going by Omniboi. So yeah, I started on MySpace music. That was like the first thing I was putting music on.
Mm-hmm. And then
cool.
you graduated, and then, or you didn't? You stopped going?
For
college.
For college? Oh no, I just dropped out.
Yeah.
Okay, so like that was my freshman year, and like I was supposed to be thinking about changing majors or whatever, and I was just like, no, I'm going to leave. I left, and I was also playing in bands at the same. There was just so many things going on.
How did you get into like,
bands?
Because you were like touring a bit, right? Also,
I was touring a lot. Yeah.
How did you get into that scene?
Because like Arizona has a really small music scene, so when I started, like, I responded to a MySpace bulletin to a band that needed a bass player, and then I joined that band. Long story short, that band like toured or played shows and then broke up, and then me and a guitar player from that band formed another band, and it just kind of kept going like that. Like a band would break up, but that you would know people, so you'd join another one, and so that kept happening over and over. Over the years. In fact, just last night I ran into the singer of one of the bands I was in Hollywood. It was so weird. But yeah, like I was just playing in a lot of bands. So I dropped out of college. I went on a tour, and I told myself, like, I didn't tell everybody I was dropping out. I was like, I'm just taking a break so I can go on tour. I dropped out of college, or I took a break, and I went on this crazy tour and had like the time of my life and saw all these places I'd never seen before and like really learned a lot. And I came back to Arizona, and I was like going to re-enroll, and I was just like, I don't think I can. Like I felt like I had like eaten really, really good food, and then somebody was trying to give me like top ramen again. And I was just like, I don't think I can go back to just like sitting in these classes. Like this sucks. I got to get back out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never went back.
How long like were you spending like just touring around before you came here? Oh, what was like?
Oh, came to LA?
Yeah, or was that were you spending a lot of time in Arizona touring before you moved here, or?
I was spending quite a bit of time in Arizona touring. Like I had come to LA a few times.
Yeah, to see like Perfume, right?
Oh man, okay. That's like a big part of the reason why I moved here. I was in Arizona. I was like really into like Japanese like music, and so Perfume was like this big J-pop thing, and so of course they weren't going to come to Arizona because nobody comes to Arizona, and the closest place they were coming was LA. So I made a road trip out to LA, to Hollywood, to go see them. And like while I was at the show, I just met so many people like me, like people that were just like 20-somethings that were making music, and were like they seemed happy, and they seemed like they had like a fan base, and people like cared about each other, and that I just wasn't feeling that in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think like 4 months later or something like that, I moved to LA. Yeah.
But were you already getting a fan base in Arizona?
I was getting an internet fan base in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about Arizona. When I was living in Arizona, I could like go to some place and play. Like I could go to New York and play, and it would be a great show. But I could never play in Arizona because people just didn't care about me in Arizona. It was like a really weird thing. And then when I came out here for Perfume, it was like all these people knew who I was, and I was just like, yeah, I gotta leave.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, Arizona. I did have a fan base in Arizona, but it was just all like internet. It wasn't there.
Was it difficult moving here? Like, did you have a job or anything?
I had nothing. So I tried to get a job for a while, but then I realized, one, it's really hard to get a job in LA. A lot of people don't think that. They think that because there's so much here, there's a lot of work, but there's not.
What kind of jobs were you looking for?
Anything. I was like applying to anything. I was like, okay, so my schedule when I got here was I would wake up. I was in my car at the time, so I would wake up. I would drive my car to a Starbucks. I would sit in the Starbucks on my laptop, and I would just fill out like 50 job applications every day. And it was just like hotel housekeeper, dishwasher for some like dim sum restaurant. Like it was just everything. Like I never saw a job and I was like, no. I was like applying McDonald's. I was applying Walmart, Ralph's, IKEA. I applied for everything, Chipotle, and I was getting like regular interviews. But again, people that like know that have like lived here, it's like not easy. Like you have to like hammer it out. So went to a lot of interviews. After a while of doing that every day, I finally got hired at IKEA.
Oh.
And then I worked at IKEA for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were crashing at people's houses during this time, right?
No, I was just, because I have a car. I was just sleeping in my car.
Oh, wow.
And then like I eventually did get an apartment out in Alhambra.
Yeah.
But I did stay, there was one night where I stayed at my friend Eric's house. I have a friend Eric that lives in Echo Park. And I think he just like really felt bad for me because I drove to his place and we had lunch and he let me sleep on his couch. But that was just one night. And I felt bad because it's like, he was married, he had like a wife there, like I don't want to like inconvenience them by...
So you're living in your car for how long?
It was only a month.
Oh,
it was just
okay.
like January, a little bit of February, and then
okay.
yeah, and I was in Alhambra.
Yeah, and Nerdy had like a group of friends here, right?
I had
or internet
okay,
friends.
so
like how do you shower?
here's the thing. Not really. Eric let me use his shower. Thank you, Eric, for that. By the way, Eric did let me use his shower, and Dusty, a friend of mine who was out here, had a hotel and let me use his hotel shower, which is pretty dope of him. Thank you. And I didn't have a lot of friends out here. See, the thing is, the first night I came out here, I went to a hotel party, and I met somebody named Velma, and I met T. Doyle, Tom. He was there too. I met Sushi Killer, Ian, who was like a producer at the time too, and I met Sean Wasabi.
Oh.
And it was like, those were my only friends in the city. But the problem was, Sushi Killer didn't even live in LA. So after that party, Sushi Killer went back home, Sean Wasabi went back home. And then it was just me and T. Doyle for a while. So I hung out with T. Doyle a lot, because I had 0 friends out here. And then like over time, I did start to like make friends. You go to shows, you meet people recognize you, and I like grew a kind of a crew of people that were like my little like LA squad. But when I first came out here, it was mostly just me and Tom. Like that was like my only like real friend.
And then how long have you been like dressing with the gloves and everything?
Oh, that's been a long time.
Like,
I actually
aesthetic.
I actually just shared. Okay, so what happened was I shared a photo on Facebook earlier today where it was like a picture of me in high school, and I'm wearing like all blue. Like it's like the first month of freshman year, and I'm wearing like all blue. And I have these like brown like leather gloves and like this trucker hat that my dad used to wear. And it was just like, I would just wear whatever was clean. Black and white, like everything being black and white was because when I was in high school and I went through that goth phase where I was like, everything has to be black. Black everything. Black jackets, black shoes, black shirt. I did all that. And then my mom was just like, you got to do something. Like I'm not taking you to church if you're going to dress like this. Like you have to mix in some white, mix in some gray, whatever. But it can't be all black everything. And so I was like, okay, I'll start wearing a little bit of white in my outfits. And then after I started doing that, I realized that it was hard to, like, I don't know if you have the same experience, but like if you buy black and white clothes, or if you buy any like 2 colors of things, or just one color, and then you see a pair of like green pants, you're like, oh, those green pants are awesome, but I can't wear those because like I have no outfit to go with them. And so now it's like I can't, like, everything I wear is black and white, so when I wake up in the morning, everything matches like all the time.
Oh yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
How about the gloves?
Those have been like for a long time, like since like elementary school.
Yeah. Is there a specific reason for them? Probably people watching are curious.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are, but I'm not saying it. But yeah, that's been a long time.
Yeah.
I've been doing that since before like music or anything.
And how did 2ToneDisco form?
Oh, that's a good question that I actually don't have the answer to, because 2ToneDisco existed before I met James, the other guy in it.
Yeah.
So like, 2ToneDisco was the thing. Omniboi had a show opening for 2ToneDisco, and then James expressed interest in my like songwriting ability. So then I just started writing and producing like all the music for 2Tone, and then I joined because like, if I didn't, it would be like a ghost producer thing, and I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah.
And so then I joined just because I'm like the sole producer in it. But 2Tone was like a thing before I even joined. I think it was like more of like a DJ outfit. That's a while ago too. That's like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, 2012.
Oh my God.
That's...
Yeah, it was a while ago.
And then you also had like a House of Omni, right?
Yes. Okay. I did have House of Omni. House of Omni was like, now looking back on it, it was like the coolest thing, and I'm very proud of having had done it. But it was just like, my apartment is pretty far east. Like it's like 10-15 minutes like east of downtown. And I was in this point in my life where I was like, I have a lot of friends, but I don't like only seeing them at shows. Because it's like when you meet your friends at a show, it's like it's loud, you don't really get to like hang out with them and talk to them very much. And people in LA, in my experience, weren't just like hanging out together during the day for no reason. And like back when I was in Arizona, like I would have friends over and they would just kind of like spend the night, hang out, play video games, eat pizza, and that was it. It wasn't like a business thing. And I feel like in LA, when you hang out with somebody, it has to be like a business thing. Like we have to be working on a collaboration or like going to the studio. And so I was like, I just kind of opened up my house and I was like, if anybody needs a place to stay, like if you're visiting LA and you want like a couch to crash on, like you could come stay over. And at first it was like pretty slow, like maybe just like a person every like month, and then like a person every week. And then like gradually it turned into this thing where my house was always just people. There was just people all the time. Like I would wake up and walk into my living room and there's people. There's like people sleeping. There's people like playing Smash on the Wii. There's people like in my kitchen. And it was like, there was this like golden period where it was perfect. Where it was just like all my friends. People were meeting for like the first time in my house. Like I made a lot of friendships, or like a lot of friendships were made like in my living room, and that's like so cool. Songs were made, like big songs that like I like to listen to now. I'm like, dude, that was made in my bedroom. Like I remember that. And it was this really, really cool experience, House of Omni was. And then like the year before last year, dang, it's been a while. I ended House of Omni like end of 2016, beginning of 2017. So like a year from today-ish, I ended it. And I still have friends over every now and then, but that was like a crazy, like 2016 was the craziest year because of that.
Yeah.
Like I met so many people and I made so many friends and like cool connections just because my house was like this. It was like a rec center. Like people would just show up. Like my front door was always open, so I would be like playing video games or something like that, or watching Netflix, and like people would just walk into the house.
Oh, wow.
And I'd be like, oh hey. Like, it was really cool. It was a good time.
Yeah. And then how did it click to you to start the Twitter videos?
Oh, okay. So here's the thing. I've actually been doing keyboard Twitter videos for like ever. And like the keyboard things, like, so even when I lived in Arizona, there's like videos of me playing keyboard on like YouTube from like 2006.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Yeah, they're like really old videos. But the thing is, I think I just realized how to make them interesting. Like, because like a lot of people like play keyboard on video, and that's really cool too. That like takes a lot of time and talent and effort. But I was like, if I can loop a thing, like play a thing and have that loop, then go over to another keyboard and like if I can basically make a song in front of people, I think that will be, one, entertaining the people, and two, I think that a lot of people that listen to music don't actually know what's happening, In the same way that like when I look at like a movie, like, have you ever like looked at a movie but then you look at a movie set?
Yeah.
Like, and you see the cameras and you see the mics and you're just like, oh god, like that's all happening behind this.
Oh yeah.
Like, or when like you're looking at like a TV show and they kind of zoom out a little bit and you can see all the lights and everything hanging, and you're like, wait, that's not a real window. Like that's not daytime outside. Like I don't know how movies are made. And I realize like a lot of people that are just like, oh yeah, I love like, oh my god, I'm such a big like I'm obsessed with music. I love music. I go to like Coachella every year and all that stuff. They don't actually know like what music is. Like they don't know how it's made. They don't know like what is going into it. And so, I mean, I could make videos of myself like EQing snares, and I can make videos of myself like running processing on vocals, and that'll alienate people because a lot of people don't even like, if you show somebody what an EQ looks like, the average person is going to go, I don't know what the heck this is.
Yeah.
But if I just show people a very simple rendition of me like making a song, like here's a bass line, let that go, here's like a chord, here's like a solo thing to go over it, here's drums, like if I show them that way, then I feel like there's a level of understanding now for somebody that doesn't know how to make music, where they're just like, oh, maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people like message me after those videos and be like, I really want to get in, like, what's a good keyboard to get? Like, what's a good starting position?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, one, that's crazy because most of the time now with the current, like, music climate, most people that are trying to get into music will ask, like, what programs do you use? Or what kind of laptop? Like, I want to get a laptop. But the fact that people are, like, actually trying to get into, like, playing keyboard is, like, really cool to me. They're just like, oh, what kind of keyboard should I get? Or how long? How long have you been playing keyboard? How long would it take me? Like, I like that. I don't always have the clearest answers for them, but
were you surprised when you went viral so many times?
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. The first time I was surprised, partially because I was having a very bad day that day. The day where the Bad Bushi video went really big, I was having a horrible day. So I put up that video and I went to work, and you go into work so you turn off your phone, and it wasn't until I got off work and I like looked at the video again and it had like, I don't know, like 7,000 or 10,000 like likes. I was just like, this is insane. Like, this has never happened. And I didn't really understand why it was happening. And then, you know, a few months went by and it would happen again. And then a few months would go by and it would happen again. And then I realized, like, oh, okay, I get what the people that are watching this want from me. And so then it becomes easier. Like, at the time, like, Bad and Bougie was a huge song. And the same way that just a couple months ago, like, Gucci Gang was a huge song. So I do, like, a keyboard video, Gucci Gang, everybody loves it, and it gets really big. And so, but the first time that happened, I was like...
Then your phone broke, right?
Yeah, I honestly, okay, it was horrible because like there's a thing that happens where if you have a Twitter account and you post a thing or whatever, if you're starting to get too many notifications, Twitter itself like sends you this message where it's just like it basically has to like truncate your notifications so that your phone doesn't just turn into a mess. Because otherwise you're just getting like vibrations, like phone's vibrating, it's like dinging like every second. And so what it'll do is it'll start like not showing you some notifications to try to like save your feed.
Yeah.
And that had never happened to me before. Like I honestly, like it turned into this thing where like I would open Twitter and the notification thing would say like 99 plus. And I would like try to like scroll over to it to see the notifications, and then Twitter would just like freeze and then close. And I was just like, wow, what the heck? And like, yeah, it was not made for that. Like it was just one of those things where I think every program should see like a gradual rise.
Yeah.
Even like SoundCloud, because after that, of course, I got all these like new SoundCloud followers, and SoundCloud sent this message where they thought that I was like a fraudulent account, like I was buying followers.
Oh.
Because in their like metric, it's just like I've been like coasting like this all year, and then all of a sudden there's this huge spike, and they were just like, close his account, like close it down. Like I couldn't do all these things on my account for a second. I was just like, no, like I had no control over this. And they recently like released that, but it was like, yeah, like I had never dealt with anything like that before, because up until that point, I'm not saying I wasn't engaged with social media, but up until that point, I was just posting whatever I wanted and then never checking up on it because it was never necessary. Like, it wasn't getting a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it was like, you post something now, and I'm like, now I actually have to, like, check, like, comments and things on it and, like, stay up to date. But that was crazy. Like, I had no idea. I just didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
I thought I could go through every notification, and even if you look back on the Bad and Bougie thing, it's like, I was replying to everything. I was
my
like,
gosh.
Thanks for listening. Oh, thanks so much. Wow, that's great. Wow, nice shirt. Like, oh, thanks for the comment. Thanks for the follow. I went through your feed too, and like some of your tweets are really funny. Like, it was just me replying to everybody and having like full-on conversations like back and forth with everybody that was commenting on it.
Yeah.
And then like, that became my thing for like, cause it wasn't even like it went viral in like an hour and then it stopped. It was like every day. It was like poof, like double poof. And then the next day it was like Fader posted about it. Okay, now more notifications. Then the next day, like, what was it? Majestic Casual posted it. So boom, like more notifications. And I was just like trying to stay on top of it. Like, yo, thanks for listening, guys. Wow, thanks for sharing. And it was just like, the people that were hanging out with me through that like a week, I was just always on my phone, and my phone was always plugged in because I was just like, I have to like,
thank everyone.
Yeah, because like I mean when now like if you open like if before that if I opened Instagram and I had a notification, I was like, yo, like, oh, let me check this out, like I gotta read this. Or like if I'm on Facebook and it's like, you have a new comment, it's like, yo, let me read this. Like I want to catch up and see what's happening. But this was the first time in my life where like I couldn't read everything. Like now if I open my Instagram and it's like 37 new notifications, I'm like, cool, but I can't read all those. Like I just have to like, I don't know. It's weird. That's like, I'm still trying to get used to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like that guy that's always on his phone, like trying to stay current on everything.
What are you doing now? Are you doing music full time or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm doing like everything.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I don't work at IKEA anymore. I definitely quit IKEA because it was taking up a lot of my time and it was making me really upset. It's just, you know, those are jobs. Jobs will do that. And so I quit IKEA and I started doing like music and then like weird odd jobs, and I'm still in like that. So I don't have like a retail day job that I go to every day, but I definitely have work that's like very music based, and I do commissions and like little scoring things. It's nice.
Yeah. Do you have a team now or?
No, I am the team.
Yeah.
Which sucks because, I mean, I'm not telling anybody because there's somebody like looking at this and they are like trying to start a music thing and they're just like, I need a team, I need a manager, I need this, I need that. Like, those things do help. Having a team does help. But I will say that I'm at the point that I am right now with no team. Just me doing everything by myself. So it's not impossible to do by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you have people that are willing to help you, do it. But if nobody's willing to help you, then don't wait for somebody to help you. Like, don't wait for a manager to go like, oh, we got to help you. Don't wait for like a booking agent to go like, we need to see you play in our city. Like, you just have to do everything yourself. And I'm going to say until somebody comes along to help. But in my position, like in my experience, I'm still just doing everything by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I make the songs, I'll like mix the songs, I'll master the songs, I'll release the songs, I'll promote the songs, I'll play shows for the songs, I'll reach out to people for tours. Like, it's just me doing everything.
Wow.
So it's like really exhausted. No team yet.
Yeah. How do you think your music has changed since the early songs you made?
Oh, well, the early songs I made were all like chiptune. So I think it's changed a lot in that it's become like more full, more mature. It's matured with me. Also, I feel more fluent in music. Like, there was a lot of times where when I first started music, I would have ideas. And this is any artist. You'll have ideas that you yourself can't execute because of lack of skill or lack of understanding. And now, like back then, I used to be like, I could hear a song in my head. And then I would sit down at the laptop and I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, I don't have the prowess. I don't have the know-how. I don't have the skill level yet. And now I feel like there's this almost immediate fluency between me and the piano. Like, if I hear a thing in my head, I'll sit down at the piano, kind of sound it out like da 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 da, and like after like, you know, a couple of seconds, I'll like have it. Then I start building the chords, and I'm just better now at creating what I hear in my head than I used to be.
How do you think you've grown as a person?
I've become less like when I was getting started in music, I wanted to just be useful, you know, to people. And so, like I said earlier, like when there was a band that posted on that line, like, we need a bass player. I didn't even play bass. I was a keyboard player. But I was just like, I have to be in a band. I want to be, this is my chance. How hard could it be? So I like had a bass. I had all of a sudden like a guitar pick. And then I was learning how to play bass guitar. And then I was playing in this band. Like, that wasn't me, and like that wasn't what I wanted to do. And that wasn't what my goals were. And I think me growing as a person has just been me learning that there is like a difference between what somebody else wants you to do and what you want to do. And so if I don't want to do something now, I just don't do it. Like, if like there's times after like where that Bad and Bougie video got really big, and somebody was like, you should remix this next. You should remix Kendrick Lamar's this next. And I would think to myself, like, do I want to do that? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I just wouldn't do it. And like, maybe that means like you'll lose some followers, or maybe that means you lose out on like sometimes a good opportunity. But at the end of the day, like now, I'm concerned with like my own happiness and fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And I feel like early on in my music career, I was not that way. I was just like, wait, you need to be like, what do I have to do? Somebody's like, oh, we need you to do this today instead of the thing you wanted to do. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, you were going to headline, but now we have you playing a little earlier. And I'm like, that's fine. Okay. And they're like, we actually can't pay you. And I'm just like, no, it's no problem, man. Thanks for the opportunity. Like, I was just so easy to work with. And now I'm just like, yo, it's got to be like this way, or I'm like not going to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everybody kind of gets there with time.
Yeah.
Like, you just grow up and you just like kind of cut out the nonsense.
What does success look like to you?
Success? I think success is, oh man, that's a hard one. I mean, I know what it used to be. Success used to just be having money. And then like you get some money and then like you're still not super satisfied. So I think success is just, well, being able to express yourself and being healthy. Oh man, wow, this is like, I think success is being comfortable. Yeah, I think success is being comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, I think that is like a lack of success. I think that if you're financially uncomfortable, get to a point where you are. And I think that if you're like, your health like is suffering, seek help, or like take care of yourself, practice mindfulness, and get to a point to where you are comfortable. And I think that that is success. Because when you're really comfortable, a lot of the times, whether you're like on a couch and you're like curled up in a blanket and watching a movie that you like, that's a point where you're just like, you don't want for anything. You're just like, I'm like great right now. Like, nobody touched me, nobody do anything, everything's perfect now. And I think that that is success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And I don't even think you just get it. I think that success is like you have a successful week, and then you could have like a crappy week. I think that success just happens, and then momentarily.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
Wait, what was the last question? Sorry.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Well, like after I'm dead?
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, I hope people listen to. I hope I last a little, you know? Like, I hope, like, my music lasts a little. I don't want people to remember I was a nice guy. I don't want people to remember that I was, like, a good boyfriend or whatever. I want, like, because I feel like, we still listen to, like, Mozart and we still listen to Beethoven. Or we still listen to Prince and, like, the Beatles. But, like, there was so many artists among that time, you know? Like, there were so many artists that we don't remember. And like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, like I don't even know if we'll remember like Katy Perry or Britney Spears and people like that.
Yeah.
And those people were huge at the time. And like we kind of just like, I don't know, like Nick Carter. I don't know. Like people kind of fall off. So I just hope that even if I just have one song, or if somebody like 100 years from now is just like, oh, Omni, doesn't even matter. Even if they're just like, Omni sucked. Like Omni was a horrible musician. At least if I had that kind of lasting power, like that would make me feel good. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This was cool.
Oh, yeah, I love your answers.